Do you know the Atomic Man? No, not the 1950s sci-fi, but our very own Harold McClusky right here in Hanford. In 1976, Harold here was a rad worker out at the Hanford site in Washington State, where he had been working with exchange resins, producing americium and plutonium as a byproduct of this weapon-grade production out there. His site had been shut down for about 5 months, though, due to a strike out there, and when he went back, he was cautious about handling these resins because they become more volatile when left over time. Nevertheless, his boss pressed him onwards, and so he goes in, adds nitric acid to the whole mixture, and it explodes, blowing leaded glass, rubber, and other material into his face and eyes, including nitric acid and over 500 times the amount of radiation considered safe for an entire lifetime. First responders come and get McCluskey, and his body actually sets off Geiger counters at 50 feet away. He is so radioactive when they pick him up and take him to the facility for treatment that they have to use a mechanized arm to take him out of the ambulance into the treatment center because they don't want to expose other first responders to the radiation coming off of his body. The medical team treats McCluskey by rinsing and cleansing his body as much as they can, also administering a very experimental drug at the time, trisodium zinc, which over 500 injections allow him to process and then flush the radiation out of his body. It was revolutionary at the time, but it actually ended up working. McCluskey was 64 when the accident happened and went on to be 75 when he died from congestive heart failure from a pre-existing condition. It's deemed that the nitric acid actually had more detrimental effects on his body than all of that radiation, and that they managed to get rid of it using these experimental drugs and fast response treatments. McCluskey went on for years touring around describing this as a workplace accident and then using it as an opportunity to teach people better safety standards in the workplace in nuclear power and engineering. The room where the accident happened, now known as the McCluskey room, was sealed up for over 35 years until in 2014 the Hanford site began the process of decontaminating and destroying it. By 2017 it had been erased altogether, but the story lives on. The fact that McCluskey survived what was deemed a lethal dose of radiation remains an interesting chapter in the story of nuclear production out there in Hanford.